don't feel like nights. They feel like a message your life has been trying to send for months. But you were too busy being responsible to read it. You're handling everything. You're staying steady. You're doing what makes sense. And yet there's a low, persistent hum under your week, like a warning light you keep ignoring because you don't have time to be dramatic. May 5 has that kind of energy. Not because it guarantees anything, not because a sky event can hand you a miracle, but because timing has a way of making certain truths louder. And when the Eta Aquariids peak lands on the same day as a mirror date, it can feel like the external world is matching an internal, knowing you've been trying to talk yourself out of. Here's the question that stops people cold on days like this. What if the restlessness you've been calling lack of discipline is actually your value system asking for an upgrade? What if the money plan you've been forcing is simply the wrong plan for the person you're becoming? Because there's a specific kind of financial pressure that doesn't come from being irresponsible. It comes from outgrowing your own structure. It comes from realizing your current income rhythm is built on strain, not strength. It comes from noticing that the version of you who learned how to survive is still making the decisions. Even though you're trying to build a life that doesn't require survival mode anymore. May 5 isn't here to scare you. It's here to reveal you. It's the kind of date that makes you look at your bank account, your calendar, your obligations, your someday goals, and feel a sudden clarity that is almost uncomfortable. I can't keep doing it like this. If you've been feeling that, you're not behind. You're not failing. You're not bad with money. You're recognizing a pattern. Most people don't talk about the quiet, emotional weight of money decisions. They talk about budgets and strategies and income goals, like the only thing standing between you and stability is a better spreadsheet. But you know the truth. You can have a plan and still feel shaky. You can be earning and still feel unsafe. You can be doing everything right and still feel like something is off. Like you're one unexpected expense away from resenting your entire life. That's not because you're ungrateful. That's because money is never only money. Money is timing. Money is identity. Money is what you tolerate. Money is what you believe you have to do to be okay. And when you're in a season where your capacity is changing, your old money behaviors start to feel heavier. The hustle that used to feel empowering starts to feel like a leash. The "I'll just push through" mindset starts to feel like a trap. The side income you built to feel free starts to feel like a second job you can't quit without panic. So you do what responsible people do. You tighten up. You cut back. You try harder. You take on more. You keep it together. You tell yourself you'll rest after the next milestone. You'll breathe after the next deposit. You'll slow down after you catch up. But the catch-up point keeps moving. And you're tired in a way that sleep doesn't fully fix. Because what's exhausting you isn't just the workload. It's the internal negotiation you're having every day. How do I keep performing stability while I quietly fear it could all collapse? If that's been your reality, let this land cleanly. The stress you feel isn't proof you're doing it wrong. It's proof the current system is asking more from you than it can return. And eventually, every system built on overextension starts demanding a different kind of payment. Not a bill, a cost in peace, a cost in health, a cost in relationships, a cost in self-respect. That's why dates like May 5th feel sharp, because they don't create problems. They expose the ones you've been managing so well nobody else notices. Here's what most people miss about mirror dates and threshold events. They don't cause change. They intensify recognition. They compress your tolerance for pretending. They make your internal pattern louder than your external excuses. And with May 5, 5, there's a symbolic simplicity to it. The number 5 has always carried the feeling of movement, friction, adaptation, change in the air. It's the number that doesn't like being trapped. It's the number that asks, quietly at first and then relentlessly, is this still true for you? So when you see 5 on the calendar, it can feel like a pressure point, a pause that isn't calm, a pause that's charged, a moment where the mind is still trying to keep life logical, but the body already knows the truth. You're not meant to stay in a structure that makes you shrink. And when that same night the sky is alive with streaks, brief, bright, fast, there's a strange emotional echo. Ideas come fast. Urgency rises. Desire spikes. You might suddenly want to change everything at once. Quit, launch, move, invest, reset, spend, reinvent. But the real message isn't do something drastic. The real message is notice what's trying to move through you. Notice what's asking for a new rhythm. Because the shift you feel coming isn't always an external event. Sometimes it's the moment your values stop matching your habits. Sometimes it's the moment your standards rise and your current income strategy can't keep up. Sometimes it's the moment you realize you've been calling it discipline, but it's been fear with a planner. The lens today is numerology, not as superstition, not as destiny, but as a way to name cycles and value themes so you can stop treating every feeling like a personal flaw. Numerology, at its root, was never meant to be a party trick. Historically, it shows up in ancient Greek and Pythagorean traditions as a study of harmony, proportion, and rhythm. Numbers as patterns of movement, not labels that limit you. It's a language for timing, for maturation, for the way growth has seasons, even when society pretends everything should be linear. And when you look at 5 through that lens, you're not looking at a magic code. You're looking at a mirror that reflects a question your financial life must answer. Are you building wealth in a way that can hold you, or in a way that only works if you keep outrunning your own exhaustion? Because 5 isn't only change. 5 is the cost of change. 5 is the discomfort of upgrading your identity without having proof it will pay off immediately. 5 is the tension between the stable version of you that knows how to survive and the next version of you that refuses to live on edge forever. This is why people feel itchy around pivot seasons. They start questioning everything. They start comparing themselves. They start searching for signs. They start imagining new lives. They start judging their current one. But here's the deeper pattern. When a 5 cycle is active in someone's life, what's really happening is not that they're becoming reckless. They're becoming honest. They're becoming less willing to trade their peace for income that doesn't actually create freedom. They're becoming less willing to keep proving themselves in systems that were never designed to value them fairly. You can see this pattern in the world too. Look at how economic shifts often accelerate when people collectively feel squeezed, when cost of living rises, when wages lag, when industries reorganize. People don't just change jobs because they're bored. They change because the old deal no longer makes sense. The value exchange breaks down. And once people feel that breakdown, they become less loyal to the structures that kept them stable. Because stability without dignity is not stability. You can see it in public stories as well. Think of the entrepreneur who built a business that looked successful from the outside, but privately couldn't sleep because the entire thing depended on their constant output. The moment they admitted the truth, this is not scalable, this is not sustainable, they weren't failing. They were maturing. They were moving from what hustle-based income to system-based wealth. That transition is always emotional before it's strategic, because it requires letting go of the identity that says, if I stop, I lose. You can see it in the quieter, more personal scenes too. The person who finally opens their bank app and realizes they've been earning just enough to keep postponing the real build. Not because they're lazy, because their money behavior has been shaped by immediate relief. Small spending that soothes stress. Subscriptions that make life feel manageable. Convenience purchases that function like emotional anesthesia after long days. And then the guilt after. The shame after, the vow to do better, the repeat. A 5 cycle doesn't condemn that person. It simply reveals the true need beneath the behavior. They're craving freedom, and they've been trying to buy it in fragments. And there's another scene that shows up often in wealth timing. The high performer who is good with money, but can't enjoy it. Savings looks impressive. Investments are steady. Discipline is strong. Yet there's a tightness around spending, around receiving, around resting. That tightness is not wisdom. Sometimes it's the residue of a season where money was unstable. The body learned to equate spending with danger. So even when the numbers improve, the nervous system stays braced. A 5 cycle can bring that bracing to the surface, not to punish you, but to ask, are you building wealth for safety or building wealth from safety? Those are not the same. This is the part that matters. May 5th can heighten desire, but desire is not direction. The symbol of 5 can activate a craving for motion, but motion without meaning creates mess. So the invitation is not to make a dramatic financial decision in a moment of intensity. The invitation is to let the intensity tell you the truth you've been postponing. And if you want a simple, grounded way to work with this kind of timing, it starts with how you observe yourself, not how you motivate yourself, not how you pressure yourself. Observe. Notice what feels loud around money right now. Is it the fear of not having enough, even when the facts say you're okay? Is it the resentment of how hard you work compared to what you keep? Is it the quiet shame of a pattern you can't seem to break? Is it the anger that your income hasn't matched your growth? Is it the exhaustion of being the one who always figures it out? Let the answer be honest without turning it into a verdict on your character. Then notice where the urge for change is pointing. A 5 season often produces a false target first. The mind says, I need more money, when the deeper truth is, I need a different relationship with time. The mind says, I need a better job, when the deeper truth is, I need boundaries and a value-aligned role. The mind says, I need to invest, when the deeper truth is, I need stability before risk. This is where many people misread the signal and create chaos. They act on the first urge instead of listening for the second layer. So instead of chasing the first impulse, give yourself permission to refine it. If the impulse is to quit, refine it into a plan to reduce dependency on one income stream. If the impulse is to spend, refine it into identifying what you're actually trying to soothe. If the impulse is to launch something new, refine it into a structure that can hold your life, not just your ambition. Wealth isn't only what you earn. Wealth is what your life can sustain. Let your actions match that. Start by tightening the places where money leaks through unconscious relief. Not because you need to live deprived, but because you deserve to know where your resources are going. Let the awareness be clinical, not shame-based. When you see a leak, don't insult yourself. Ask what problem that spending has been solving. When you name the need, you can meet it with something cleaner than impulse. Then shift your focus to value exchange. If you're undercharging, over-delivering, or repeatedly accepting work that drains you, that isn't just a pricing issue. It's a self-worth rhythm. It's a pattern. And patterns change when you decide your energy is not an unlimited resource to be traded for survival. A 5 season often marks the moment someone stops negotiating their worth. Let your calendar become part of your wealth strategy. If your income depends on you being available constantly, you don't have a wealth plan yet. You have a workload. Begin creating protected time that isn't optional. Not as a luxury, as a requirement. Because if your nervous system collapses, your income collapses. That is not a moral failure. That is physics. And if you've been postponing the foundation, emergency savings, debt cleanup, consistent investing, a clearer earning ladder, don't turn that into panic on May 5th. Turn it into commitment. Make one grounded adjustment that your future self can trust. Not a dramatic vow, a real shift, a realistic percentage, an automatic transfer, a negotiation, a boundary, a new agreement with yourself that says, I'm not building wealth by burning myself down. One more thing, because it matters on nights when inspiration spikes. Not every idea is meant to become a project. The meteor peak can make your mind feel like a spark machine. You will have thoughts that feel brilliant, urgent, almost destined. Treat them as data, not commands. Write them down. Let them cool. The ideas that are real will still be real when your nervous system is calm. That's the difference between aligned change and impulsive escape. Aligned change remains true after the adrenaline passes. When you start living this way, the future doesn't feel like a gamble. It feels like a build. You stop measuring your financial life by whether you feel anxious today and you start measuring it by whether you're becoming someone who can hold more without breaking. You stop needing constant proof that it's working, because the proof becomes internal first. The calm you can access, the choices you can make without fear, the boundaries you can keep even when money is tempting you to abandon yourself. And something subtle happens. You begin to trust your pacing. You begin to respect your capacity. You begin to see that wealth isn't a finish line you sprint toward. It's a structure you grow into. The same income can feel like a trap in one season and like a foundation in another, depending on how you're relating to it. The same opportunities can feel like pressure or possibility, depending on whether your values are clear. The same risks can feel reckless or wise, depending on whether your base is stable. May 5 doesn't demand that you reinvent your life overnight. It asks you to stop ignoring the part of you that already knows what must change. It asks you to be honest about the financial strategy you've been using to survive, and whether it matches the life you're trying to build. It asks you to choose the kind of change that preserves you. So here's what I want you to sit with tonight. Especially if you feel that quiet electric edge in your body, like something is coming. Maybe the shift you feel isn't a sudden external event. Maybe it's the moment your standards finally rise high enough that your old habits can't follow you. And if that's true, you're not unstable. You're awakening to your own value. Take a moment and be honest with yourself. When you look at your money patterns right now, where do you feel the strongest urge to change everything? And what might that urge be revealing about the kind of wealth you actually want to build? Peace first, capacity first, and value aligned. The moment you stop calling your restlessness lack of discipline is the moment you realize it was always your value system demanding an upgrade. And your wealth was never meant to be built on self-abandonment. If this named what you've been feeling, share it with someone who's been carrying silent money pressure and pretending they're fine. And if you want more episodes that decode timing and patterns without superstition, subscribe, because the next season of your life deserves a strategy that can actually hold you.